something to share. I hope you can hear me, guys. But so I was reading through the book of Job, because you know how when Job went through what he went through, and then there was a time that God actually answered him after they had finished having the conversation with his friends. There was a time that God came and was like, let me come and answer these people, because there's a little bit of too much confusion going on around here. So when you read that passage, when God started speaking to them, I think it starts from like Job 38. You can go read it, because it's very deep and very personal. I think it's something that you have to get a personal revelation from. What was God trying to say? Why did God, you think it's kind of crazy that God would, after he had actually, he was the one that told Satan, could he go test him, like, sure, you go do your thing with Job, right? Some of us know the story. It was God that accepted Job should go through everything that he went through. But when God comes to answer him from Job 38, you see how he answers him. Like, he's telling him, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing. Like, God was even infuriated with the fact that he was angry, that he was going through all these things, right? And you'd be surprised. You'd think, oh, okay, maybe God is gonna come and say, Kudi, you know what, I'm actually sorry. You were a righteous person, and I chose to treat you this way, or I remove these things. But he doesn't do that. He comes and he tells Job that I am mighty. I don't think you understand. Why are you complaining? Because I made you. So if I choose to play around with you, or if I choose to do this, to remove this, and change things a little bit, you shouldn't even be bothered like this. You shouldn't be backing yourself up to this point of trying to treat me to think that I'm doing what's wrong. I am the almighty, all-knowing God. I know everything before that you could ever know. So, I was reading through that, and it's such an interesting story. Actually, one thing I love about it is that it shows us that even though God says, yes, this girl, I want her to go through this thing, it doesn't guarantee you making a fuss telling him that, God, why did you allow it to happen? Actually, we don't even have the power to go before God and say, why are you letting this happen? Because he's the one that let it happen. And when he does, he doesn't expect us to react in a way where we're questioning his motives. Because he shouldn't be questioned at all. Because the way he answers Job, he says, you're questioning this. Why don't you question all these other things that are going on around you? Like, there's so many things that I am in charge of, and you want to question this one thing? Like, why are you questioning this one thing? Like, do you know where the lightning comes from? Do you know where the thunder comes from? Do you know how the wild goats are living in the wild? They don't have a house like you, but they're living. You're not questioning any of these things, and you're here trying to play like you're the main character of this movie. Hey, sometimes it be feeling like we're main characters in this movie, but no, it's not supposed to be like that. Actually, it's not supposed to be like that at all, because we hear and we see God telling us that, who are you? Like, who are you to come at me and try to guilt-trip me, or try to make me feel as if what I'm doing is wrong, and yet you don't even understand what's coming. You don't understand why I'm doing it. You don't understand, because of course, yes, we see God saying, yes, you can touch everything around him, just don't touch his life, like, don't kill him. But we don't see God telling us why he said that. We don't hear God's reason as to why he accepted for Job to go through what he went through. So it's just one of those things where it's a little bit blurred. Not a little bit blurred, but we will never know everything that God does or thinks. He knows. He's omniscient. Is that the word? I don't know, guys. But he knows everything. He's the all-knowing God. So the things that we don't know, he knows. So it's like we're questioning only like 0.11% of his plan, and yet he knows like 99.999% of it. But yeah. But you know what? This is what I actually wanted to bring to our attention. As as everything finishes with Job, with the whole Job story, we hear God saying, or we hear the writer saying, and the Lord made him prosperous again and gave him twice as much as he had before. All his brothers and sisters, everyone who had known him, came before him and ate with him in his house. And it goes on to say how much God blessed Job again, like times 2 in the second phase of his life. And then the last verse, the second to the last verse, which is verse 16, 42, verse 16 says, after this, Job, and he had beautiful daughters. He gave birth again to beautiful daughters, by the way. He gave birth again. Nowhere in all the land where there found women as beautiful as Job's daughter. And their father granted them an inheritance along with their brothers. So verse 16 says, after this, Job lived 140 years. He saw his children and their children to the 4th generation. And so he died old and full of years. Now let me tell you what I got from this. Job lived 140 years. Of course, we've seen people live longer. But do you know what it says? It says he lived to see his children and their children up to the 4th generation. And do you know that these were his second children? Like Ena, Janafa, all of them died. So this was like his second round of children. And he lived to see even the 4th generation of that generation that he gave birth the second time when God blessed him twice as much. What I got from this is that we don't really realize that in this life, there are certain things that are a blessing to our lives that might not be directly be rooted to something that we had to do direct, but because of something that our great-grandparent did, it can affect even the life of the children to the 4th generation. I mean, yes, we see that Job lived obviously a long period of time, but do you realize that these people, these children, this generation that he saw up to the 4th generation, they were protected as well? Because why? Because he had vowed probably in his heart that I am going to make sure that Job sees his 4th generation, his 3rd generation, his 2nd generation, and all of them. He's going to see all of them. And through that covenant that God had with Job, other people benefited from it. The 4th generation benefited from it. And they could have been good also, they were not prayerful, or like they were not righteous. But they benefited from a covenant that Job had, from something that Job did, from something that Job went through. They benefited that. They didn't die because there was a covenant speaking for them. There was something greater speaking for them, protecting them from the enemy's snares, from the enemy's traps. It just makes you realize that decisions of our great-grandparents affect us. Have you seen how in this generation there's so many young people dying? No way that Job's grandchildren would have died, because the covenant, there was something speaking for them so that they could live long enough for Job to see them. But you see so many young people dying, and we say, oh, maybe it's just an accident, or it's just, it was time. No, it was not time. It was not time. You see so many even children, I shouldn't say young people, but children being sick. Like, how does a child have cancer? You're telling me that a child has cancer? No, these children are paying for the price of the great-grandparents, or of the grandparents, some even of their parents. You have to realize that at this moment, there are parents that are making decisions that will affect our children, not just our grandchildren, but our children. There are decisions that our parents are making to this day, 2023, that they are making at this moment that will affect your great-grandchildren, that will affect your children, your parents, yes, your parents, even you. There are decisions that you're making at this moment in your life that will affect your great-grandchildren. And then they'll come on this earth and they'll wonder, why is it that I'm struggling with this sickness? Why is it that I'm struggling with lust? Why is it I'm struggling with pornography? Why is it that I'm struggling with masturbation? Why is it that I'm struggling having one partner? Why am I struggling to make money? Why is it that I always lose money? Why is it that I'm struggling with this? And yet we don't realize that those things, they come from a generation, from a bloodline, something deeper that we don't even know. We were not even there, but somebody made a decision for us. So that by the time that we come, we should be living in these circumstances. Because let's be honest, all of us are living a life based off of our parents' decisions. Most of them, even the good things. That's the thing. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. The good decisions that you make right now will affect your children. The bad decisions that you make right now will affect your children as well. The bad decisions that our parents made affected us. Whether we don't know or not, they affected us. The good decisions that our parents made, they affect us as well. And it's just so sad that we don't really look at it that way. I feel like if we did, maybe would make better decisions, and maybe God would grant us the grace to just be better people and make better decisions. Because it's crazy out here, and God is a God of system, and he follows his system. He will not pardon you just because he doesn't do favorites. He's a very just God, and sometimes it's like, God, just pardon me a little bit. But no, it's so important to know that everything that we're doing at this moment in our life is gonna come out one way or the other, because that's just how life goes. And you can't change the way God made the systems in the world, because as a creator, there's a system that he created that we cannot change. We just have to abide to it, because that's just how things are. And you can come and say, oh God, pardon me because maybe, I don't know, I made a mistake or whatever. Those things always, even if you're a Christian, there are consequences to everything that you do. So that's what I wanted to share, and I hope this word blesses you. Bye.